Urban Indian Organization. The term Urban Indian Organization has the meaning given the term in Section 4 of the Indian Healthcare Improvement Act, 25 U.S.C. 1603. C. Appropriations. 1. In general. In addition to amounts otherwise available, there is appropriated to the Department of Health and Human Services, out of any money in the Treasury not otherwise appropriated, for carrying out this section, a $20 billion for fiscal year 2022, to remain available until September 30, 2025, b $30 billion for fiscal year 2023, to remain available until September 30, 2026. C. $40 billion for fiscal year 2024, to remain available until September 30, 2027. D. Such sums as may be necessary for each of fiscal years 2025 through 2027, to remain available for one fiscal year. 2. Administration. A. Fiscal years 2022 through 2024. In addition to amounts otherwise available, there is appropriated to the Department of Health and Human Services, out of any money in the Treasury not otherwise appropriated, $130 million for each of fiscal years 2022, 2023, and 2024, to carry out subsection K. Amounts appropriated by the preceding sentence shall be available for one fiscal year. B. Fiscal years 2025 through 2027, from the amounts appropriated under subsection A, the Secretary shall reserve, to carry out subsection K, up to 1% of such amounts for each of fiscal years 2025, 2026, and 2027, which shall be in addition to amounts otherwise available for this purpose. Amounts appropriated by the preceding sentence shall be available for one fiscal year. D. Establishment of Birth through 5 Child Care and Early Learning Entitlement Program. 1. In general, the Secretary is authorized to administer a child care and early learning entitlement program under which families, in states, territories, and Indian tribes with an approved application under subsection F or G shall be provided an opportunity to obtain high-quality child care services for eligible children, subject to the requirements of this section. 2. Assistance for every eligible child. Beginning on October 1, 2024, every family who applies for assistance under this section with respect to a child in a state with an approved application under subsection G, or in a territory or Indian tribe with an approved application under subsection F, and who is determined, by a lead agency, or other entity designated by a lead agency, following standards and procedures established by the Secretary by rule, to be an eligible child, shall be offered child care assistance in accordance with and subject to the requirements and limitations of this section. E. Lead agency. The governor of a state or the head of a territory or Indian tribe, desiring to receive assistance under this section shall designate an agency, which may be an appropriate collaborative agency, or establish a joint interagency office. 1. To serve as the lead agency for the state, territory, or Indian tribe under this section, and 2. To administer, directly or through other governmental or non-governmental agencies of the state, territory or Indian tribe, the financial assistance received under this section by the state, territory, or Indian tribe, including by certifying the eligibility of children. F. Applications and state plans. 1. Application. To be eligible to receive assistance under this section, a state shall prepare and submit to the Secretary for approval an application at such time, in such manner, and containing a state plan that a. For a transitional state plan, meets the requirements under subsection C, and contains such information as the Secretary may require, to demonstrate the state will meet the requirements of this section, and b. For a full state plan, meets the requirements under subsection D, and contains that information. 2. Period covered by plan. A state plan contained in the application shall be designed to be implemented, a. For a transitional state plan, during a 1-year period, and b. For a full state plan, during a 3-year period. Three. Requirements for transitional state plans. For a period of 1 year following the date of enactment of this Act, the Secretary shall award funds under this section to states with an approved application that contains a transitional state plan, submitted under paragraph 1a, that includes, at a minimum, a. An assurance that the state will submit a state plan under paragraph 4, and b. A description of how the funds received by the state under this section will be spent to expand access to child care assistance and increase the supply and quality of child care providers within the state, in alignment with the requirements of this section. 4. Requirements for full state plans. The Secretary may award funds under this section to states with an approved application that contains a subsequent state plan, submitted under subsection A.2, that includes, at a minimum, the following: a. Payment rates and cost estimation. I. Payment rates. The state plan shall certify that payment rates for the provision of child care services for which assistance is provided in accordance with this section for the period covered by the plan, within 3 years after the state receives funds under this section, will be sufficient to meet the cost of child care, and set in accordance with a cost estimation model or cost study described in Clause 2. That is approved by the Secretary. And 2. Will correspond to differences in quality, including improved quality, based on the state's tiered system for measuring the quality of eligible child care providers described in subparagraph B. 2. Cost estimation. Such state plan shall demonstrate that the state has, after consulting with relevant entities and stakeholders, developed and uses a statistically valid and reliable cost estimation model or cost study for the payment rates of child care services in the state that reflect rates for providers at each of the tiers of the state's tiered system for measuring the quality of child care providers described in subparagraph B, and variations in the cost of child care services by geographic area. Type of provider, and age of child, and the additional costs associated with providing inclusive child care services. And 2. Certify that the state's payment rates for child care services for which assistance is provided in accordance with this section, AA, are set in accordance with the most recent estimates from the most recent cost estimation model or cost study under subclause I. So that providers at each tier of the tiered system for measuring provider quality described in subparagraph B receive a payment that is sufficient to meet the requirements of such tier. BB are set so as to provide payments to providers not at the top tier of the tiered system that are sufficient to enable the providers to increase quality to meet the requirements for the next tier. CC. Ensure adequate wages for staff of child care providers providing such child care services that AA, at a minimum, provide a living wage for all staff of such child care providers.